be back with you. Another amazing conversation, another amazing guest, a very important topic near and dear to my heart because I always know that obviously we can maybe sometimes we all crave freedom as entrepreneurs. It's, I think, one of the values that unites all of us. However, we can have physical freedom maybe sometimes, but we don't always have emotional freedom from the things that hold us back. So I'm very blessed to have Dawn Renee Bova with me today, an expert in this field and also an amazing, amazing member to our community, always contributing with the work that she's doing and adding value that way. And just reminding you, I'm your host, Elona for all the new listeners always joining us, helping companies align and scale their purpose and their profits. Dawn, thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
I am too, because it's really the root of what can make you a successful person or not. And what is success? Well, to me, success is being in flow state, being happy, joyous, and free right here, right now. And so, how do we get that? Well, for I mean, you know my story. My life has been drastically impacted by grief and loss. First my dad in a car accident. He was very young, and I thought that was the worst thing that could ever happen to a person. But fast forward, as I had my four children, I lost my son Bradley to an accidental overdose. And at that point, my life stood still. It was just complete stillness and darkness. And that's coming from a person who has had, I have good success in my career. My husband has good success. We have all the things, right? But until I really dived in to get myself emotionally free and release the bonds that were holding me to that grief and despair, it doesn't matter what you have on the outside. So when they say that phrase happiness is an inside job, it's really the core to having emotional freedom as an entrepreneur, in life, in relationships, everything.
Yeah, I agree. Don, I think, what you're mentioning and also your personal experience, it is so important to understand how to feel and manage our emotions as leaders, whether you're a solopreneur all the way to entrepreneur to CEO, whether you have a team or not. Your own emotional management is going to dictate a lot of the ways that you also make decisions. Because if we don't understand how emotionally all these things are impacting us, we could be making the wrong decision and it could be affecting other people's lives. So I think this is like even bigger than us when it comes to understanding what are some of those things that hold us back from the emotional freedom. So
Right.
Dawn, let's start with some of those pain points that you've seen in your work. What are some of those things, red flags, things that you have seen kind of are really blocking people from really having this radical emotional freedom in their lives? And if you could raise your audio a little bit, I'm hearing you a little bit lower on my end. I
Okay.
think we'll have a more clear message.
Okay. Is that better?
Okay, that's better. Yes.
Okay. Um, I want to clarify, first of all, that as you said, it is important to feel our feelings. That's part of the human experience, right? You have to experience grief, sadness, anger, all of those things. But the problem is when we get stuck there, right? You're really upset about something, or you just can't let go of that grief. Now, I will say grief is somewhat of a companion, okay? You don't just completely sever that from your experience once you have lost someone very close to you, but there's ways and tools that you can manage that. So I journal every day, and I journal about the right here, right now, and I journal about my future self as I wish to see my future self right here, right now. And that practice of doing that mindful journaling has made a radical shift in my perception of things going on around me. My whole philosophy is creativity is a pathway of healing, and there's such a huge body of evidence in. I'm a sciencey person because I'm a nurse practitioner, so I love learning the science behind things. And this body of research and evidence that's coming through is really striving to show how creativity will help your brain function increase and get better and sharper. And so, infusing a little bit of creativity into your daily life every single day is really what I'm all about. And that's what helped me, after I lost Brad and then I lost Brian, who was like an adopted son to me. My sister said, "We're going to paint." And I said, "No, mm-mm, that's not for me. I have, too many big things going on in my life, right? Responsibilities and
Mhm.
job and even as entrepreneurs, oh, I've got to get this out and I've got to do this." But I sat down and painted with her for a couple hours. And in those 2 hours, time stood still, right? I was in that flow state, that state of ease, comfort, no longer sad, no longer grieving. And so the body of research that's coming out is showing how that actually helps heal your emotions. And that therefore
Mhm.
gives you emotional empowerment. And like you were saying, as a business person, you want to be your best emotional self. Now we're human. We're going to make mistakes. And sometimes we'll do things and then backslide and say, "Oh, why did I say that or do that?" But this gives you the ability to reframe it, look at it, maybe make an apology when you need to, or go back and do it over again. And it makes you a better leader, a better person overall. So I journal every day. I have an art journal. I create a lot of art. I sing, I dance, I do anything I can creatively to help me become a better person.
I love that you said that, Dawn, because I'm just reimagining some of the things that happen. Also, as I endorse myself in other creative endeavors, which obviously have nothing to do with business, but it helps you. It's like a healthy distraction to get you unconnected from the problem solving, the decision making, all the things that you got to do operationally, day to day stuff that always happens, into more of like a state of flow where you like almost detach from this reality. And that's where I get like the best insights around, oh, that problem that I was trying to solve with my human experience or survival brain. Oh wow, I just got an insight and aha moments. It's almost like another creative outlet. Not that obviously we go into all these things for the purpose of solving those problems at the highest level, but that could be a great byproduct. What happens when you endorse yourself in creative things. And as you're speaking of grief, I think grief can be so relatable to growing a business for a lot of entrepreneurs as well, because it's almost like you're grieving an older version of self because you are moving along and transforming as your business evolves. And that's happened to me. It's happening to me right now. It's almost like shedding an old identity and like always embracing now like a new identity based on where you are in the journey, what you've learned, where your business is, because every day you're learning and evolving anyway, and your business is coming along with you. So there's always like this process of grief or like loss of or like fear of like the old, and like what am I getting myself into, the new things that I'm about to embrace. So I find myself that the process of grieving is actually very relevant for also when you are actually growing a business. Maybe grief for status quo, like whatever has worked no longer might be working. So people need to just almost shed an old identity, embrace new action, embrace new activities so that they can move their business further along further. And usually just like, you're in the self-care space with nursing, right? I mean, just like we would always do so much more for others rather than do for ourselves, it seems like a lot of times we'll do so much for the business than we would do for ourselves. So let that be that channel where you are, getting support to kind of navigate some of those, periods of uncertainty, of like, loss, almost fear of kind of losing something old and not knowing how to kind of embrace the new. But that absolutely comes up like over and over again with every new evolutionary process as you grow the business and scale. Dawn, you got me curious with your experience in the nursing space. What are some of those things that you have seen in that space, or your experience that you've seen there, when people kind of lack the self-care piece within, feeling themselves or feeding themselves into all these new things, because it's so easy to kind of tie ourselves into the identity of just being the entrepreneur, and it's so easy to let go of all the other things that are so important, so that we have more of a holistic, um, fulfilled life, pretty much, because obviously not just one thing's going to fill us. We also want other things, so that we feel a whole as a person. What are some of those things that you have noticed that you could share from that experience? That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll share about myself and about some of the people that I work with. First of all, the old analogy, you can't pour from an empty cup, is so true, right? But you can't just pour some water in the cup and set the pitcher aside. It's got to be a continual flow, nurturing yourself, because then you're pouring that into somebody else, right? So self care is of the utmost importance. You can't give what you don't have. So if I'm telling somebody, take time for yourself, do something nice for yourself, uh, write a book, right? Write a journal, do some art, and I'm not doing that for me, then I can't really be a good example. So the first thing I think that we have to do as entrepreneurs is practice what we preach. And self care is of the utmost importance. So when I talk with somebody or counsel somebody, and I'll say, so what are you doing for yourself to nurture your soul? And I can always tell the ones that are sincerely trying to nurture themselves to be better. They have this aura about them that's lighter, brighter, especially when they're talking about the things they do. People talk about gardening or going out for a walk, and you can see they just light up when they talk about it, right? So for me, I love creating art. And when I talk about art and the colors and the strokes and how you can get lost in the movement, you can tell that fills me up. But I also love journaling. I love writing. I know you've written some books. I've written some books, and sharing that with the world and other people is just so fulfilling, right? And you can't tell people about it unless you've experienced it. So my biggest nugget, I guess, would be do it. Do it messy, do it ugly, do it sloppy, but do it. Because if you're not doing these things for you, you can't spill over and translate that to help other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you talked about what lights you up, because you could tell, like, the people that are really working within and trying new things, and filling themselves up in other ways as well, not just from one specific area in their lives. They're more vital, right? I mean, they look younger, right? There's vitality, there's good energy, they're passionate, they're optimists, right? All these things that we do, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, guys, that's the best marketing thing we have when it comes to attraction marketing, because people are always attracted towards someone that is so full of life, and so full of energy, and always trying, to improve themselves, and put themselves in new spaces. So, not to mention what you will realize about yourself, like things that are already sitting inside of you that you didn't even know that you had inside of you. So, yeah, I love the message, and self-care is definitely one of those things that we have to get reminded, and prioritize. That's it. I mean, the only way to know it's important to us is if we can prioritize it and not come up with excuses of I don't have time. There will never be time. We're the designers and masters of our time, right? So if we intentionally set it to be an important thing for us, we will absolutely do it. Dawn, how about based on the work that you do with your clients, what are some of the fundamentals that you help them with that you could share with us? What are some of the things that you utilize to help them really, you know, get that radical emotional freedom that they're craving in their lives, and maybe some of the results that they've achieved, you know, in their personal or professional lives based on the work that they've done with you.
So I really try to get people to release emotions. Like we think tears, oh, tears is a sign of weakness, showing that vulnerability, but vulnerability is a superpower. If you can be vulnerable with people and really let them see who you are, um, it draws them to you. So, for example, last week, I had been doing a lot of traveling and I came home and I just was exhausted and tired and grumpy. And I just felt it and I know I showed it. And then I made my son say, hey, let's go to the gym and do some weights. And I'm like, okay. Didn't want to, but I did. I think the point I'm trying to make with that is to have a community or a buddy system that you can work with to help elevate you is key. Because if it were just me, knowing that I would feel better going to the gym by myself, I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have went. But when you have another person or a community lifting you up, that really does elevate you, your business, everyone in the community. And, I love this saying, we rise by lifting others. So, my key purpose, whether somebody is, let's say I have a patient that is not doing so well, I'm not going to go in there and beat them up. I'm going to try and find some way to rise them, to lift them up, lift their spirits, because you will never get a positive action from someone if you are, talking down to them, shoulding them, coulding them. No, it's right here, right now. What can we do to make a little change? That's all we need, just a little bit of change. And then you build and build and build upon those changes. That's what I really seek to do, is empower people to chase their dreams, do what they want, live this life of beauty right here, right now, because it's really not about the destination. It isn't. It's about the journey, you know?
Yeah. I love it. You just reminded me to go even deeper with that. I mean, empowered people empowered others, right? If you don't have that inside of you, then you're going to work really hard. You're going to project a lot of that within somebody else. So if it's already your cup is half full, then you'll have a lot of that, and you project that positivity, and you start to look for all the amazing things in other people. And as a result, that will also lift them up, right? So I love that. And accountability, the power of the tribe. That's why I love community, because we can go through things so much easier, challenges so much easier, where we feel understood and connected to other people, because that's kind of how we're made up as humans, right? So it's in our DNA. Whether again it's a virtual space or a live space, the power of your tribe is really important, because again we will always do more for others. Just in the simple example of you getting support to get to the gym and really start to change your state in those moments where you really, you know, feel that you're kind of in your cocoon or in your comfort zone, and you know you might be experiencing different things, especially now with the universal energy shift. I think a lot of us are kind of feeling a lot of these things, and we might not even have a reason why on the outside, right? So I think it's important to listen to yourself, your body, and all the things that we're experiencing, but then find support in the people around us. We're definitely a product of that for sure. So being intentional is really important. Dawn, I also, I mean, you and me love, we share the love of just sharing things with people. And I always find that writing a book or putting our work out there or sharing our experience on papers where somebody can just take that and sit on their porch and just have a whole experience, or immerse them into our world in the hope of them to see themselves through our experience and connect some dots for themselves. I just find that there's nothing better in the world than kind of just inhaling other people's experience, where we learn so much about our own. I know you also have a book that you are also just launching. Tell us a little bit about that. What's the purpose behind the book? What is it about?
The book is called Radical Freedom, and it will be released in August here. And it's really about how there's like 100 authors, and each author contributes a chapter. So we talk about how we can reach radical freedom. And for my chapter, it I mean, I go into specifics, but in a nutshell, radical freedom is being having the ability to be happy, joyous, and free right here, right now, enjoying this beautiful journey that we call life, no matter what outside circumstances are thrown upon us. Remember a story, and this isn't in my chapter, but there was a man in prison and he was serving a consecutive life term, right? And he had found this religious practice, meditation and prayer. And somebody came in to interview him, and he stated that he was the most free, joyous, happy person that he had ever been in his life because he was really immersed in this new spiritual foundation, helping other people within the prison system. And that is a key component. Like I used to say to Brad all the time, who you helping? And I knew when he was doing really well, with all the things that he was doing, helping. And when he passed away, I received a gift from tons of his friends. They each wrote this little note inside the book and told a whole story about Brad and what he did for them, what he said to them, how he encouraged them, how he helped them. And I feel like that's probably the biggest legacy someone could leave.
Mm.
That's my purpose, really, is to connect with people and help lift people up to do whatever they want. Now, I know you help people with their businesses that and help them elevate, grow. My purpose is to help grow no matter what they do.
I love that. And the clarity of our purpose, even though it seems like, I mean, for the longest, I believed that purpose was just the new thing that we were focusing on. But no, that's actually not true. I think the new insights that I've been getting around purpose, especially also for my personal, all the people I've helped, is there's always themes, right? One main theme in our lives, in our life that always shows up. And that's like the bigger thing because no matter what we do, we always like somehow get directed to that one thing. So we do have one major big purpose. And even though it sounds overwhelming and a lot of people don't really understand what that is and all of that, the more obviously self work, emotional management work, things that we're talking about, self awareness work we're doing, the more we'll get clarity on that because that just gets diluted from the noise and a lot of other stuff on the outside, our fears and all the trauma and the things that we all experience. But once you peel those onions of the layers of the onion, it's like I have found in my life, it's always like the one thing that's been really like showing up for me at all phases and stages of my life until now. So I love that you have clarity on your purpose, with really connecting with people and helping them level up and follow their dreams and lifting them up, because that's really an important thing to know. And then you will adapt everything else that you do around that one main thing. But that really speaks to you, and that's not something that you need to get motivated around. That's already sitting inside of you. So you'll just find all the channels to be able to do it. Whether for me it's business, for you it's your business as well, and book writing or social media or this podcast or whatever else. These are just the details of how we're able to create that. So that's really powerful as well. Dawn, as we wrap up this conversation. I know we can go in and speak about this topic for a long, long time because I think there's so many depths to emotional freedom and a lot of the things that might be holding us back. But I would like to kind of end this conversation today with a final message around maybe connected around your purpose that you like to leave people with. And also, where is it that people can continue this conversation with you and check out the book that you have coming up and also other things that you have put together as resources for people to really get support with this specific area?
Yeah, I have a website, dawnreneebova.com, and you can find most things there, but you can also email me at heartworkbydawn at gmail.com, and I'd love to carry on a conversation with you if there's an area that you want help with. I'm creating an emotional empowerment creativity course, so that will be coming out soon. The release will be in August. I've also written two other books, the Creative Life book and Radical Self Love, and that was joy. I'm on all social media platforms, so you can look me up on all your platforms, Dawn Renee Bova. And my joy comes from lifting people up and seeing other people thrive and do all the things that light them up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the message is do the thing that lights you up. Don't second guess yourself and follow that intuition because it's already like just like crumbs, like follow the crumbs towards the things
Yeah.
that you care about. Because when you find things that light you up, you will absolutely light up the world and do more good in the world, which is like the main thing that I think we all stand for here at the Life School. And yeah, definitely, I would encourage you to check out Dawn's website featured on the screen and also connect with her. She's inside our community of the Life School. And just start those conversations, right? I mean, everything is, especially when you do the work that you do and we do the work we do, it's all about human relationships. So just start these conversations, then start nurturing those relationships and look for ways to support each other's missions and purposes. And we all know that, we all unite, we can absolutely create more magic in the world. So, Dawn, thank you so much for the work you do. Thank you so much for sharing what you just did today. Thank you for your service to the world because I really find that, especially when people are doing this inner work, I mean, there's no way that we can cause negative anything, bad to each other or even ourselves because you just kind of now are in a new level. And the only thing you want to do is support, uplift, value others, and all the amazing traits and values, which I think are becoming very important nowadays for humanity. I think we're shoving away the superficial stuff and we're going back to the core and the authentic piece. And we have learned to value that. And I think that's definitely a good change for all of us. So thank you again for what you do. And I want to thank you for always watching, supporting the show by sharing the show with other amazing entrepreneurs that you know. And also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes when they go live. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another show and guest. Bye, everybody. Are you experiencing these two main gaps in your company and your business? Inconsistent cash flow and clients, and also scalability issues. Maybe you've reached your maximum capacity with your current business model and the way that you're operating your business now, and you are really experiencing burnout and no time freedom in your business. But you're not sure what to do to be able to scale your company to the next level so that your company also becomes an independent asset outside of you so that it can become an asset if maybe later you would like to sell your company or build a legacy company that really does more good in the world. For my dear podcast listeners, I'm offering a free 30-minute discovery call where I will intentively listen to what is it that you've built in your company thus far and then offer my insight around some of the gaps that I can hear from the main gaps that we talked about at the beginning of this conversation that you might be experiencing. And I would love to offer some insight around my experience on what might some of those gaps be and ways to further support you in the future of the scaling of your purpose and profit, so that absolutely you can do more good in the world and your company can be independent of its founder and owner and become an asset that also creates amazing momentum out there in the world. For a limited time, I would love to offer my 30-minute time on my calendar for a free discovery call. You can just grab a time on the QSR code right here on the left-hand side of the screen, and grab a time so we can further connect. Again, thank you so much for being loyal listeners to the podcast and also for always supporting the show.